Well, Razorback fans, you got two games in Bud Walton Arena this week against Georgia and Oklahoma. Two teams that are beatable, if there is such a thing for the Razorbacks. But what do we need to see from them? Let's talk about it on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I'm also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. We know it's a Tuesday, and it is the afternoon, and it's a THP 11 Tuesday. So let's go ahead and welcome in our very special guest here on Locked On Razorbacks. It's Tyler Cass of THP 11, the sports director down there in Central Arkansas. And Tyler, it's been a while, but how you doing, man?
Good. I spent the weekend in Denver visiting my little brother, got back to Little Rock, and I'm not even joking. It was actually colder in Little Rock than Denver, so I felt betrayed by the state of Arkansas and the weather. But other than that, great.
Yeah, I mean, none of it makes sense right now. It is quite freezing, but you're hoping that something will go a little positive here for the Razorback basketball team. 0-5 in SEC play, I don't think is anything any of us predicted, considering Arkansas's never done that in the history of their program in the SEC. Something John Pelfrey, Stan Heath, coaches that were considered to be not very good coaches, didn't accomplish. But John Calipari, a Hall of Fame coach and national championship winning coach, with an NIL budget of unlimited, it seems like, has found himself in that position. Arkansas has two games at home this week in Bud Walton, and they're still trying to find their first win. So I'll ask you this. First off, does that first win come this week for the Razorbacks in SEC play? And second off, what do you want to see from them, or what do you think you want to see from them, especially with Boogie Fland being out with injury, that can give you a little bit more confidence that that first win is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of running out of excuses at this point because I think I and everyone else was like trying to go with the well, the SEC is just better now than it's ever been. Well, it's the beginning and they got to gel a little bit. Well, John L. Davis will find his shot and he's hurt. Well, there's a winnable stretch coming up, and then I mean, you talk about Georgia and Oklahoma as two of the beatable teams, and that's what LSU and Mizzou were supposed to be, and clearly they were not that beatable, at least not for Arkansas. I mean, it's the soundbite that's going to, I think, keep coming back to haunt John Calipari, and one of many is where he talked before the SEC season started about how good and deep the league is, and how everyone's looking for those wins, and you just don't want to be the one that the other teams have circled as the potential win. And unfortunately, they are. I think every team now, not just on the road, but it's coming into Bud Walton Arena going, well, we got to get Arkansas because we've got so-and-so coming up. And Arkansas was supposed to be one of those so-and-sos, not the team that you won, or not the get-right game after it. And that's just clearly not the case. So, I mean, I don't see them winning any of these games purely because I'm in full-on, I'm going to have to see it to believe it at this point. I mean, just the beginning of that Mizzou game was awful, but that's not been an issue before. Arkansas, three conference games before that, took double-digit leads to start the game and then blew them. There's been they've got about 10 to 15 minutes worth of fight in them in every game, it seems, that gives you a little glimmer. This is the Missouri game, the beginning, and then towards the end of the LSU game, but just not stringing it together in any sort of meaningful stretch. And now the one guy who was consistent, like you said, Boogie Fland, still highly doubtful for the Georgia game, and then who knows for Oklahoma. And now it's just my attempt at a silver lining there is, well, even if Boogie was your best player, you're still 0-5, so it's going to force some kind of change. And they did try a little bit of change with the big lineup against Missouri, and that went terribly. So it's not just, throw darts at a wall and say that's your starting five or roll some dice, but thinking about it clearly hasn't worked. So why not try not thinking? Yeah, without Boogie, it's like, DJ Wagner seems like the guy who is most likely to step up. Maybe, the magical John L. Davis playmaking ability will be realized if he is forced to have the ball in his hands. But I feel like we've kind of gone down that road and been burned before. I'd love to see Billy Richmond get more involved as like a big two, just because most kind of spark plug guy. Incredibly raw, but he's the guy I think I have the most fun watching on this team, which says something about him, but also I think an indictment on the rest of the team, because especially on offense, there's nothing fun. There's nothing going on. It never feels like, oh man, they're coming downhill and they're going to score. Oh man, look at that nice little. No, there's nothing right now that is fun about this. And I mean, you look specifically at Georgia tomorrow night. They come in with a couple of the best offensive rebounders in the country. That's already Arkansas's like big issue, is giving up offensive boards. So until they prove otherwise, I'm not predicting any wins.
No, and I'm not going to either, and I don't think anybody should. And that's what's going to be crucial for this team, is to have a good showing in a few games, because, not to say that you're still playing for the NCAA tournament, because you're not. I mean, unless you just catch on fire. We talked about it, and it's not even like you needed a lot of wins in the SEC. People are saying 7-11 in SEC play would probably get you into the tournament.
Well, as long as one or two of those 7 are the top 10 teams, I mean, 8-9 almost seems like a sure thing, but the road to 8 or 9, not really there right now.
Yeah, you'd have to go 7-6 the rest of the way if you're Arkansas, and that's not happening. Like, it's just, no one's going to believe in that. So it's a matter of like coming out and just trying to put something together. And I think that's what's going to be fascinating about how this team handles it, where, like fans are jumping off ship. They're like, and I don't blame them. I mean, the crowd tomorrow night, I don't think is going to be good at all. And I don't expect it to be. So we know what Cal says. We know what Cal does, but I'm going to be curious what this team full of talented players, guys that are highly regarded, how are they responding? Are they just going to mail it in? Or are they going to come out and fight for it because they're mad and embarrassed and humiliated and the way things have gone? I'm just going to be curious to see how this team, the individuals on the team, handle it emotionally and mentally when it comes to being a laughing stock of college basketball right now.
Right. You want to see some kind of pride, some kind of fire that, again, we haven't seen, I think, for a full SEC game yet. And that's where I think you're kind of looking for, as far as like what to look forward to this season. It's probably not the NCAA tournament, like I said, barring some kind of superstar run here. I think what I'm kind of watching for now is, this sounds like a crazy thing to say, but the future of the John Calipari era. Because if they do just roll over and quit, then I might be out on Cal, because that's on the head coach. To me, at a certain point, you are the one who's got to get these guys up and got to get them to play for something. And that's so much outside of the recruiting and X's and O's of it all. The head coach is the head motivator. The team is a reflection of the coach from a culture standpoint. And if there's not fight, if there's not fire, if there's not pride in not just themselves but the state of Arkansas, then what is there, and what is there to look forward to next year? Because then you go, well, we're going to bring back probably an entirely new roster again next year, and if things go south, we're just going to quit again. It's starting to get late fast here if that's the case.
Well, could talk a little football on the other side of the break on a THP 11 Tuesday here on Locked On Razorbacks, so stay with us. All right, Razorback fans, I'm here to tell you about FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are here, but it's not too late to continue to get in on the action for the playoffs and for all things college basketball, NBA, everything with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W, and you got to love which betting on players and player props and all of those things, which you can do with FanDuel. But you can also say which players are going to score a touchdown. How many points are each team going to score? So many different ways to get involved and to have fun and to win some money. So get after it today. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. And that's FanDuel.com for your chance to win $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We're also brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks, the place where you get real money and sports action. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, PrizePicks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Whether it's the playoffs or the regular season, PrizePicks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all the football action. Now it's playoff time, and there's no better way to get in on the action than PrizePicks. Here's how it works. You simply pick more or less on at least 2 players, and if your picks hit, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. That's right, 1,000 times your money just by making a few simple picks. For me, it's all about those hot takes this season that you have in your opinion. So make some hot takes when it comes to the NFL playoffs. It makes it fun and predict and easy to play. Plus, with PrizePicks Flex Play, you can still double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And with the app, you can get winnings fast, sometimes as little as 15 minutes. Ready to run your game this football season? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 just for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with Prize Picks. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, we're going to continue our discussion here on THV 11 Tuesday on Locked On Razorbacks with Tyler Cass, sports director of THV 11. Looking at the football side of things, Tyler, I know it doesn't seem like it, but Razorback baseball starts up very quickly here, less than a month. And spring practice also will be about a month away for a lot of teams. We'll see what the Razorback schedule holds. But it seems like it's kind of gone quiet on the transfer portal. We see a little bit of the players that they have coming in. But what is the storyline for spring? What is it? Before it was about Petrino and about Taylen Green, new quarterback. Well, you got Petrino and you got Taylen Green. You don't have many other players that are returning from last year's team. So for you going into spring practice, what is the storyline? What is the headline for this spring?
Yeah, there's not a juicy one, like you said. I mean, we were served with the juiciest of headlines last year with the return of Bobby Petrino and then going out and getting a new quarterback. And that's the kind of thing that's always going to dominate. I mean, anywhere that there's a quarterback battle, that is your headline. That is not the case here. I'm real interested to see, that kind of stable of young quarterbacks they've got now, how those guys look. I think the future of quarterback beyond this year is really interesting at Arkansas, but that's not this year. I mean, it's going to be Taylen. And there is a little bit there of like, all right, year 2 under Bobby Petrino. So finally some consistency at both coordinator and quarterback for this Arkansas offense. What kind of steps can they take there? But for me, I mean, like I said, not a lot of returns. Other places, it's what we get to see at least, because that's always the thing with spring practice, outside of stretching, how much we get to see ourselves of the DB wide receiver battles, because that's where there's just so much new on both sides. I mean, heck, brand new coach on the defensive side there, and we really went hard on wide receivers and tight ends to a certain extent in the transfer portal. So just kind of those are always some of the most fun things to see at any stage of practice, anyways, because that's where it feels like guys really actually go at it close to 100%. There's a lot of personal pride at stake, especially when it comes to the type of personalities that tend to play defensive back or wide receiver. And so with so much new there for Arkansas, that's something I think. It's also where you can actually kind of start to see something. The offensive linemen are going to look great pushing sleds around, but how much can we learn from that? And then how much can we learn from any spring practice? I think everyone at this point kind of knows, hey, the guy who looks like a superstar might not even be, top 4 on the depth chart come fall, but we're just kind of looking for anything to give some hope around these parts now.
Well, I was even looking at it with Taylen Green. Speaking of him, he was 5th in the SEC in passing yards last year. Well, Jackson Dart was ahead of him. He's gone this season. Garrett Nussmeier will return at LSU. He was number 2. But Carson Beck transfers to Miami. Quinn Ewers is gone. So you're talking about, as far as returning in the SEC, Taylen Green's the 2nd leading passer from the previous year. So, I mean, is there a way that, in a path that he could end up being one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC next year? I know that other players have come in and new quarterbacks have come in, but is he set up for that type of success where he could be considered one of the best in the SEC?
Well, there's another, section of the Razorbacks I think that's going to have a big say in that, in the offensive line, which is going to look so different next year. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I think from a purely statistical standpoint, yeah, 100%. Some of that is just because it's a Bobby Petrino offense. I think that's what we saw last year, where I don't know if a lot of people from a national level would call Taylen Green a top 5 quarterback in the SEC last year. I think he had a lot of really high-profile mistakes, that tendency to turn the ball over deep in his own territory, that got more kind of headliney stuff. But like you said, from a statistical standpoint, yeah, I mean, he's the guy who's up there. So I think he's going to have to prove it before he gets any love outside of Fayetteville, which is nothing new for Razorback fans, or Razorback general to see. But yeah, I mean, in this day and age of college football and college sports as a whole, we see just how much experience counts, how much just having guys who are older, who have been there, who know systems counts for something. And especially, I mean, you hate to say it, but a lot of the early non-conference games is where you can kind of pad your stats a little bit. If the rest of the SEC is still using those games as a trial period where Taylen Green is full go, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I mean, you could see, I think, some real gaudy numbers to start at least. Not the friendliest schedule overall, even in non-con, but there's some chances there.
Well, Tyler, before we let you get out of here, what you got going on down there at THV 11? I know it's still busy with not only Razorback basketball, but high school basketball too. Just let everybody know what you got going on this week, all there at THV 11.
Yeah, the guy who's sometimes here on TH 11 Tuesdays, Nick Luttrell. Hopefully he's hyping it up too, but he's got his full on recap show, Ludi's Look Back, as he's calling it. That's airing on our THB 11 Plus app every Monday. He kind of takes a look at Razorbacks, but also the other colleges that we cover here, the UCAs, the A States, the Little Rocks of the world. Speaking of which, A State basketball for Razorback fans who are maybe looking for. I know that there's not exactly a lot of love lost between those athletic departments, but A-State men's basketball is a lot of fun to watch this year. Brian Hodgson's got something special going up in Jonesboro, so we're covering them more and more. And like you said, high school. Heck, tonight I'm going to go out to Little Rock Christian against Maumelle, two undefeated teams in 5A Central play. And that's where we're at, just finding the best kind of high school stories and then getting closer and closer to baseball season. We got some fun Arkansas baseball and softball features coming our way in the next couple weeks here too.
What should be really interesting, there's no doubt about it. And you can follow Tyler on Twitter at TV Tyler Cass, and also check him out each and every day there on THV 11 in the Central Arkansas market. But Tyler, it's always great to catch up with you. Enjoy the week, man, and we look forward to catching up with you here soon on a THV 11 Tuesday here on Locked On Razorbacks.
Sounds good. Maybe we'll talk about a winning team one of these days. We'll see.
One day. I still have hope. One day. But either way, we appreciate it, man.